Regular meeting of the Township of Ocean Board of Adjustment of July 20th, 2017. Please come to order. Please call the roll.
Here.
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 Here. Here.
Here.
Here, please stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the notice having been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster and filed in the office of the Township Clerk on July 12th, 2017. Emergency notice. There's an emergency exit to the courtroom doors and 2 exits at the rear of the room. Please note the no smoking laws are in effect here tonight. Also note it's board policy. No new cases will be started after 11 p.m. No new testimony taken after 11:30 p.m. In addition, each applicant will be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. Also, please note all meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean's Community Cable Channel, Channel 22 on Verizon Fios and Channel 77 on Cablevision. All cell phones must be turned off. If you need to make a call, please make your call outside the meeting room. First item of business is swearing in of members. Mr. Steinberg.
We have a new member.
A new member.
So stand. Have your.
Yeah, I have my cheat sheet.
Repeat after me. I, Michael Copil.
I'm Michael Pardon
Pardon me.
That's okay.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state under the authority of the people.
and in this state under the authority of the peoples.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
all the duties of alternate number 4.
all the duties
Right.
of
I got it right? Alternate number 4
justly perform all the duties of alternate number 4
of the Township of Ocean Zoning Board of Adjustment according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
of the Township of Ocean Zoning Board of Adjustment according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Okay. Next item is an announcement. The following case will not be heard tonight and will be carried to our next meeting, or to our meeting of September 7th, 2017. Tiffany Fisher, Block 118, Lot 1, 1601 Sunset Avenue in Ocean.
The DQ.
The resolutions will, next item of business. They're posted on the board unless someone needs them read in full. We shall offer them by title only. The first one is Eugene Dello, Block 197, Lot 2, 1305 Franklin Avenue, Ocean, bulk variance approval. Somebody offer it?
I offer.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next one, Jonathan Los Quadro, Block 105, Lot 15, 1322 Maple Avenue, Ocean, bulk variance approval. Someone offer it, please.
I'll offer.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Stephen and Kim Pillsbury, Block 26.08, Lot 2.02, 7 Holland Avenue, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. Someone offer it, please.
I'll offer.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yolianos of Ocean Inc., Block 1.02, Lot 67, 933 West Park Avenue, Ocean, amended site plan approval.
I offer.
Second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 A little confusing.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item is minutes for approval. The first one is the meeting of April 20th, 2017, regular meeting. I'll offer it. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll. Come on, here we go.
Yes.
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 Yes, the next one's April 26th, 2017, special meeting. I'll offer it. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, brings us to our first case of the evening. Continued case, Lakeside Adult Medical Daycare Center, LLC, Block 140, Lot 81, 1001 Wickapecker Drive, Wanamason, in R1 zone. This is an application for minor site plan approval and a D variance to permit the operation of an adult daycare facility. C variances are also required. Attorney for the applicant, Rick Brodsky. Let me just read the ground rules again for this application. This is a use variance. We have 7 members and 2 alternates sitting. The applicant must prove their case and get the affirmative vote of 5 members in order to gain approval. In order to gain this approval, they must show reasons what they want to do is appropriate on this particular piece of property. This is the positive criteria. They must also meet the test of the negative criteria by showing that there will be no detrimental effects on the zone plan and the master plan of the township. Please remember that these proceedings are transcribed and video recorded. Only one person may speak at a time. We begin with the applicant's testimony. Each witness will be sworn in and be allowed to testify uninterrupted. When each witness is done, board members will ask questions. Following that, members of the public will be allowed to question the witnesses only on matters to which he or she has testified. We ask that there not be any repetition, and the chair holds the right to limit redundant questioning. When the applicant completes their case, objectors may present their case and be subjected to the same cross-examination as were the applicant's witnesses. Here again, the chair reserves the right to ensure that the testimony is relevant and not repetitious. When the objector's case is complete, the applicant will be allowed to sum up, and the board will deliberate and render a decision.
Mr. Chairman, I think I have to disqualify myself, so I'm going to step down.
Okay, Mr. Malta. Okay. We don't have any new packets, Marianne, is that correct?
There's nothing new.
Nothing new. Okay, so Mr. Brodsky at 7:37, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As the chair indicated, we're here on the Lakeside Adult Medical Daycare Center application. This is a continued hearing. This is our 8th hearing. Mr. Chair, are we doing our time constraints this evening, Warren? Or
45 minutes.
Got it. Okay. As the board may recall, those of you who were here, when we last left off last month, the project engineer, Mr. DeFalco, had completed his testimony with regard to the revised site plan that had been submitted, discussed, and marked as Exhibit A4, which is on the board back on the easel. So I believe the public had started questioning of Mr. DeFalco, and that's where we are, and I think that's where we continue.
Okay. So we'll continue. Anyone have any questions for the witness about to what he has testified? Mr. Gazarovski, you're going to...
If there are no members from the public.
They're all waiting for you. They're all waiting for you.
They're waiting for me.
There are members of the public.
Pardon?
There are members of the public.
Okay, fine. I'll let them go first.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Please identify yourself in the microphone and name and address, please.
William Ty, 23 Ballard Drive, Ocean Township. What actions is planned to alleviate the contaminated runoff from the front of the property from entering Wickapecker Drive and draining into Deal Lake? That's my first question.
There are no plans to change the drainage or the surface at Wickapecker Drive or the entrance between Wickapecker Drive and the front of the building.
Not a question, but a follow-up on that. I think that creates a...
No.
Oh, sorry.
No follow-ups. Questions
okay,
only.
Question. Will the added vehicles on the property that are idling create additional pollution that will be running into Wickapecker Drive and into Deal Lake?
So by added vehicles, added to what? Do you mean the fact that it's
added to nothing, added to only cars that have been parked in the property, and now we'll be having commercial large size vehicles plus the personal vehicles of the employees and the people who will be there.
So it's the vehicles associated with the proposed operation of this site.
Correct.
I believe the applicant testified as to the idling, that we will comply with the ordinance regarding idling, and we will not violate the idling ordinance.
Will there be a need for the buses to back into overnight parking spaces?
The present plan has no backwards movements required.
Will the dumpster pickup require the pickup truck to back up to remove the dumpster from the property? Has anyone evaluated how the warning beeper will impact the lives of the local residents?
The pickup of trash will be very similar to the pickup of trash that exists today, where a vehicle will pick up the trash and back up, and the beepers will beep, and he will leave the site.
Previously, the backup trucks, the trucks that have picked up from the property, have been excessively loud and picked up on very early hours of the morning on weekends. Will this be an occurrence that we'll have to suffer?
Well, by the way, the board can limit the times of pickup. You know, within, since it's a private
And it'll
corridor,
be private
it's a
corridor,
private
yes.
corridor, the board can, if they choose to approve this application, limit no pickup before 9 a.m. and no after 5 p.m. and not on weekends or whatever you feel deem appropriate. So that can be controlled.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg.
Do we need to answer, or have we answered?
I don't know if you can
I was going to say the applicant will comply with the noise ordinance
we can even go further.
and go further
Yeah.
if the
With
board
private
seems fit.
carding, we will have some control over the times of the pickups because it'll be a private car.
The driveway that is shared with the William Larkin Golf Course is unsafe at this time. Why are there not plans to separate the two driveways to make separate safe ingress and egress from the properties?
I believe the testimony of the traffic engineer said it was safe, and it was not disputed.
I don't see how that could be safe.
You can bring,
Sorry.
we'd be happy to have you bring an expert in when it's time and
Okay.
contradict whatever testimony might have been entered.
Okay.
I don't think this engineer testified to that.
No, it
It
was
would've
John
been-
Ray.
It would
was
have been,
John Ray.
right, it would have been the traffic engineer.
Yes.
Well, there was an engineer at the last meeting that was talking about not putting an island between the properties. So I believe I
That
heard that
was
testimony.
Mr. Ray,
It was a few meetings.
and it was a few meetings ago, and you're right, and he's a traffic engineer.
Oh, I'm sorry for that. We didn't get a chance to ask questions at that meeting, so I'm sorry.
No, he was questioned at length.
You'll have an opportunity to either bring an expert or testify yourself as to the conditions.
As the driveway for the adult daycare facility is very narrow, I believe, okay, I'm sorry, that would be a comment, and I don't want to ask comments. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Thank you to the board.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for the witness about his testimony?
Cynthia Applebaum, 22 Ballard Drive. This is more of a question going back a couple of meetings ago, but we were said that there would be no lineup of buses on Wickapecker Drive or any of the other local streets. Are they picking up the seniors at one location and coming in, or are they picking them up at individual homes so that they come in staggered?
I don't think that this expert testified as to that, but you can answer that, can't you, Rick? I think you know, right?
Yeah. The answer is the seniors would not be picked up at a single location. It would be various locations, and there was testimony that the arrivals would be somewhat staggered.
Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Gazarovski, you, oh,
Save the best for last.
Eileen Cummings, 311 Belmont Avenue. What time is the pickup in the morning?
Again, this
Wasn't, I don't.
this witness
wasn't-
didn't testify to that. You have to ask the witness who testified to that. I think Mr. Brodsky.
Nobody knows though?
Well, Mr. Brodsky may be able to give you the answer, but someone did testify to that.
Okay, but I'm just asking the question
The-
now.
What time is the pickup or
Yeah,
the
in the morning.
drop-off?
In the morning.
The drop-off? Arrival?
The arrival for come here and leave in the
Right.
morning. Is it 8:15? Is it 9?
It's a range of time, probably over a 45-minute time period. It's not
Between what
all,
time though?
the applicant should answer
Yeah,
that.
was it, what was it?
Okay, so that is the same time that kids are getting on school buses?
We actually had testimony from the traffic engineer and, who incorporated all of those comments.
Okay, and so what about the traffic on my road? Going past my house every morning?
Again, the traffic engineer gave detailed testimony and, with regard to levels of service, his testimony and his questioning was repeated, I would say 3 months ago.
Well, I didn't know about 3 months ago, so nobody can answer.
Ma'am, you have to get closer to the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so the kids getting on the school buses, there's not an interference with safety?
His testimony that that there was no safety issues.
And what about the noise factor going past my house? Every day, like when they leave and they come back and they leave, they're going to go past my house. They're not going to jump. My road is the fastest road to Route 35. So they're going to make a right out of the facility, make their first right or second right, and shoot right down to 35. They're not going to go down. I forgot the name of the street. That's Sunset. The other when you're going. Off of Wickapecker.
Yeah, there was
no, the one right before.
There was a lot of testimony.
Not
There was a
Belmont,
lot of
somewhere.
testimony about the traffic patterns and the levels of service, and the complete testimony was given, and the traffic engineer concluded definitively
That it's safe for children.
that it's safe, that the traffic being generated by the vans associated with the use of this site, as well as the cars for the employees, would have a negligible effect on the existing traffic.
And what about the kids that ride their bikes to school and walk to school passing that area? Anything about safety for them when the buses are coming in, coming out? Nothing?
This testimony, this witness didn't testify to that. We had the traffic engineer testimony
can-
on all aspects of traffic.
You can purchase the CD of the night's hearing with all the traffic information of what they testified to and all the questions, and it's a few dollars. And it's available under the.
It's just a simple question,
But
it's
you're
just a
asking-
simple question.
but this is not-
I
but
know
this is
some
not
of
the-
those are already done. You see, I didn't know about
I
this
understand.
starting
I
in the way
understand.
back when, 3, 4, 5
Well,
months ago.
what you can do is you can make an application to get a copy of the CD.
Right.
How much does it cost? $5?
Right.
The whole night's testimony.
Something else
and then
that's
you
going to cost
can.
me money in the long run, so that's okay.
Yeah,
I'll
he
pass on that.
testified in March
But then
16th.
If you hear
wanna
all that
request
and you
that.
feel that it's not correct, you have the ability at the end of the hearing to testify to the contrary. So
Well,
you
I
may
just
wanna-
don't think it's right that, well, I can't make a comment that everybody's going past my house and I don't know
Well,
what's
that-
going on in
this
the
is-
neighborhood.
That may be a very appropriate statement. This is not the time for
I
it.
know, so I'm gonna sit down now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I came in a little late, so I heard her talking about traffic. From what I
Your
understand.
name and address, please.
Oh, yeah, it's Michelle Crosta, 1318 Vina. From what I understand, there have been multiple fatalities at that intersection.
This is not a time to testify.
I'm just,
And wait a minute,
I have
wait
a
a minute.
question.
You came in late. The only questions that are tonight are the engineer from his testimony last week. This is not the traffic person. This is the person that's designed the site for drainage and everything else.
So what questions are we taking tonight?
Only as to the engineer's testimony.
Only to the
from last
engineer?
week, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I have a question right now then.
Okay.
Again, and it seems to be very important to everybody that the testimony of the traffic engineer, they didn't hear, they didn't have, and they want to question, you can purchase the testimony. It's about a $5 CD from the town, and then you can present your opposition based upon the actual thing that he said.
And where do we place our testimony?
Okay.
For that?
Ma'am, you cannot talk from the audience. If you're going to keep speaking with Mr. Steinberg, you have to come back up.
How do they get it? Wait
I
a
think the
second.
question too that this woman had was, how do we testify against
Wait,
traffic?
I'm going to tell you that. Number one, if you want to get a copy of the CD for the exact testimony of their expert, you apply where?
Rachel, you also can't be heard. So you need to go to a microphone if you're going to be part of the...
I could probably get answered. You could probably come to see Rachel at Town Hall, and you have to fill out a form, right? And then they'll make it available to you. That's number one. Number two, the way this works is like any other type of court case. The applicant presents their entire case and all their experts. You have the right to cross-examine their experts, but not present any comments or your own testimony or your own experts. At the conclusion of their case, everybody here has the opportunity to address the board and to bring any experts that they want to bring and tell the board why you feel that this application is not appropriate.
So that's a separate.
That'll be another night, yes.
And now, is there a date on the calendar?
We don't know when the applicant, as I said in the beginning, when the applicant completes their testimony and their case, then any objectors or any interested parties may present whatever they want to present concerning the case, be it experts on their side, testimony of individual people. Anybody's thoughts will have an ample opportunity to present your side, if you will, of the case, and then we will cross-examine your witnesses or yourself. We'll close the public hearing, and then we will make a decision. But we won't make any kind of decision until everyone's had an opportunity to testify, but this is not the time for objectors or interested parties to testify.
So when will I find out when?
When depends how long the case takes.
This is the 8th hearing. It will continue if we don't finish tonight, and it'll be published.
Yeah. Well, then the next meeting would be September 7th at this point, right?
So now that's when we can.
I don't know if
It
they're going to be
depends.
finished.
We don't know how much more testimony they're going to have. We don't know how many more questions people may have for the witnesses. It's going to, when it runs a course, when they're finished with their application, with their presentation, then it's open to the public.
Okay.
I don't have a crystal ball to tell you exactly that.
I guess I'm just trying to get some information as to like where
Ma'am,
this is going next.
Each application is limited to 45 minutes.
I get it.
So we're going to do 45 minutes tonight, and at the end of that, we're going to make an announcement, and Mr. Brodsky is going to sign a piece of paper that says what the next date of the hearing is. And so the next date of the hearing would be announced tonight. It will also be on the agenda later on.
And then we come in and voice our concerns.
No, that's
When
what
they're
we're saying.
finished with their test, they may have more witnesses next time in the next 6 months. I don't know what their plans are. When they're concluded, when they're finished, and they say, you know, we've concluded our application, then it's opened up to the public for rebuttal, for question, for comments, etc. But when that's going to happen depends on, you know, at 45 minutes a pop, depends on how much testimony they have, depends on how many questions tonight. I mean, this application tonight's going to conclude by about 12 minutes after 8. And whatever's not done this meeting is going to carry over to the next meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next.
Anybody else have questions for the witness? Okay, Mr. Gazarovski, you're up.
So for the record, Mr. Chair, can we just have Mr. Gazarovski advise as to who he represents?
I'll do that.
Thanks.
Give me a chance.
So nice and tan, I don't know.
Really, I didn't notice today. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Ron Gazarovski. I'm an attorney with offices in Red Bank, New Jersey. I've appeared before this board with relation to this application, I believe, on 2 occasions. I earlier advised that I was representing Mr. David Bueller, who is a neighbor residing close to this project. That is the only person whom I represent.
Thank you.
Could I ask the address?
My address?
No, of your client.
Before I leave, I'll provide it to you.
Ooh. Okay.
If you like it right now,
That's
I can
okay.
ask what it is.
Sorry to put you on the
Let's get it
spot.
on the, what's your address, please?
57 Ballard.
Okay.
57 Ballard.
Thank you.
Right, okay. Before I hopefully will not have a lot of questions, but I'd like to clarify One thing with Mr. DeFalco. Good evening, Mr. DeFalco.
Good evening.
Mr. Brodsky as well. There's been some questions with regard to Mr. DeFalco's testimony as compared to that of Mr. Ray. But in looking at the plan which was prepared by Mr. DeFalco and the comments, I think, of Mr. Higgins, when I look at the plan itself, it reflects the fact that there's a revision date of May 3, 2017, and it says revised parking and bus area / rain garden added. So my first question to Mr. DeFalco is, am I correct in making the assumption that you, pursuant to the comments made by Mr. Higgins, revised your original site plan and changed some of the traffic circulation patterns within the site itself?
That is correct.
So if I'm asking questions in that area, you are the person who is properly before this board to answer those questions.
With respect to the layout, yes.
Okay. Now, the last time we were here, I believe the board, I believe Ms. Walensky referred to a letter which had been sent to the chairman of a Deal Lake Commission by Princeton Hydro, who are scientists, engineers, and the like, who did a review of your plan. And my recollection is, and that letter is dated May 15, 2017. I believe it has been marked. My recollection is that at that last meeting, when you were questioned with regard to it, you indicated to the board that you had not read that letter prior to coming here the last time you were here.
If that's what I testified to.
Well, I don't know. I'm asking you whether you recall that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you again.
I recall the letter.
What?
I recall the letter.
Okay. Prior to your testifying at the last hearing, had you read that letter?
I believe it was the night of the meeting.
Okay, fine. Now, that letter is dated May the 15th of 2017, and your last revision date is May 3 of 2017. Since that date of the Princeton Hydro letter, 15 May 2017, have you submitted any plans or any reports to either the board engineer or the board secretary addressing any of the concerns that were evidenced in that letter, since obviously your last revised plans were prior to that letter?
No.
Okay. Did you give any thought to or give any consideration to the comments made by Princeton Hydro?
I believe at the last meeting I testified to the fact that we would work with them and make appropriate changes as we agreed to.
That's what I thought you said, but having said that...
But I didn't make any physical changes to
having
this
said
documents.
I thought you said that, but having said that, since that last meeting, have you contacted them and made any attempt to address the concerns that they have?
No.
Well, when do you intend to do that, if at all?
When we have all of the comments and we have all of the board's comments and professionals' comments, we'll decide whether there needs to be a revised plan submitted or whether testimony is sufficient.
You earlier said that he was going to address and revise his plans according to some of those comments. That's all I'm asking.
There was no time frame set for that revision. There was no time frame set for that revision.
So basically, at this particular point in time, your testimony is a work in process, and we can expect further revisions to this plan.
Not necessarily.
Now, I've looked at the plan, and I have some questions with it, and you have it before you. As I look at the plan, and I always have difficulty sometimes with north arrows and or the like, but in looking at the plan, you want another copy? I have another copy for you, Steve.
No, I was going to show you. This is.
I can see
I
that.
thought you didn't see it.
I can see the type.
This is A4 we're talking
Thank
about.
you for your
right?
effort.
A4.
I have an extra copy. You want to have it?
I'm very familiar
See
with
that?
it.
Yes, Grace, now I know what your eyeglasses, they must be binoculars. When I'm looking at the plan, there is in fact a common driveway off of Wickapeco Drive, and to the north is the ingress and presumably the egress of the golf course, and then southwest, I guess, would be the ingress and egress for this project.
Partially correct. The ingress to the golf course is shown on their property. The egress is on our property.
Here's the egress. The egress from the golf course?
Yes, the width of that driveway is too narrow to have ingress and egress within its bounds.
Okay, so that golf course drive, I don't see you have arrows there, but the golf course drive then accommodates both ingress and egress?
Yes, it does.
So they egress out of the same ingress that's on Wikipedia Drive.
They ingress and egress out of the golf course driveway, and it crosses the boundary line, and they actually enter our property to make a right turn.
That's fine. Now, as I look at the plan, when the buses in question enter this property, they travel, I guess, in a northwesterly direction and ultimately get to the basically westerly sideline of the property where there's kind of a loop, and then they come around, and then on the southwesterly side we have an area there where it says drop-off area. You follow me with that?
I follow you.
Okay. Now, as I look at the drop-off area, it looks as if, because of the now presence of the proposed rain garden, you're only able to unload one bus at a time. Would that be a fair statement?
There's room to unload 6 buses at a time.
Well, okay.
There's a shadow of a shape of a bus drawn against the curbing. If you follow that from the back of the property to the front door, you'll see 6 shadows. So there's room to unload 6 buses at one time.
Okay. I'm looking at where it says drop-off area, and you have a dotted, what would appear to be a bus right there.
Yes.
Okay. Will you also be unloading further to the east? That'll also be a drop-off area?
It depends if there's the need to have 2 buses that arrive close time frame. But there's room to unload more than 1 bus.
Okay. But you can't unload a bus where the proposed rain garden is, can you?
We would not unload a bus at the rain garden.
Now, will you also be unloading buses in the traveled way? In other words, you show several other buses going to the north. Is it your intention or proposal to be unloading buses both on that drop-off area where you can unload 2 buses, or are you also going to be unloading buses in the traveled way throughout the length of that driveway?
No.
Okay. Only where you've got a sidewalk pavement?
Yes.
So why do you show then those buses over there? There'll be buses that'll be egressing the site? Is that what that's for?
Those are buses that are stacking behind the buses, either for parking overnight or for getting ready to leave in the morning, showing the spacing between buses. The drop-offs occur at the curb and sidewalk.
And
The pickups occur at the curb and sidewalk.
So, just bear with me for 1 second. Look at the area where it says drop-off area, and then it says proposed rain garden. That would be the very beginning of the sidewalk for the drop-off area, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, how long of that sidewalk do you intend to unload buses at?
How long? It's from where it starts to the front door, if need be. Typically, it's the rear is the access point for the entrance to the building.
But as I understand the entrance to the building, it's on the westerly side of the building where it says 6-foot sidewalk.
Yes.
That's where you egress it.
Yes.
Now, my understanding is that, and I think the testimony was that the parties who are coming to this site are not just coming from Ocean Township alone, but rather there's a radius of X number of miles for people who may be utilizing the services of this facility, correct?
Yes.
And the idea is that early in the morning, a bus or several buses go out, and whether they're driving to Asbury Park or Fairhaven or Little Silver Rumson, Neptune, wherever it may be, they're picking up people.
Yes.
And they're coming back to the site.
Yes.
Now, is it your understanding that when they come back to this site, they will only come back to the site when the bus is fully loaded?
That's unknown. It
That's
depends
unknown.
on how many people they're scheduled to pick up. It's not a random pickup. They have a list, whether the list is one person or 14 people. They go get those people and bring them to the facility.
They don't have that list yet, though, do they?
They'll have it when they leave.
No, as
They'll
it
know
is-
where they're going. They're not going to a bus stop to pick up people.
I understand that. So I'm not trying to confuse you. What you're saying is bus leaves the site or wherever it begins its journey, goes throughout the area, picking up individual patients, if you will, in different parts
They're
of the
not
county.
patients, but go ahead.
I understand that. Picks up
Senior citizens.
Picks up senior citizens, and then they come back to the site, and it's undetermined as to how many people will be in that bus, correct?
Well, there's a limit to the number of seats in the bus.
How many people does the bus hold? If you know.
14 people.
Okay, so, but when they come back, there may be 2 people in that bus, there may be 5 people in the bus, there may be 14 people in the bus, correct?
Well, if it's an efficient operation, which I think it will be, they will schedule the buses not to come back with only 2 people, because that wouldn't make much sense if they.
How do you know it's gonna be, have you ever worked with this?
I'm
particular
saying from a business point of view, if you send out a bus to pick up people to bring to a facility, you don't come back empty. You come back full.
Have you ever
From
worked
a practical
with this,
point of view.
Have you ever worked with this operator before and observed any facilities that he's presently running?
I have not.
Okay, fine. Now, here's my question, which, and I understand it, that some of these people, I take it, the majority of them fall within a particular age category, do they not?
Senior citizens have a definition, yes.
Well, what is your belief of what a senior citizen is? Be very gentle with me, okay, so.
I think we all know what that means.
I don't, what age do you think a senior citizen is? Over 65?
Could be.
Okay, fine. Now, are some of these people coming back also? What?
Including 65.
60. Are some of these people coming back on these buses also suffering from disabilities?
You mean, do they need a wheelchair?
Yeah.
There's possibility that they do, and the buses are equipped to handle wheelchairs,
I
yes.
understand that. Now, as I'm looking at the plan, though, can you tell me what the distance is from that first beginning of the drop-off point where it's adjacent to the rain garden to the entranceway to the building? And I don't want it by the crow flies. I want to know it by the sidewalk distance.
It's about 50 or 60 feet.
Okay. And if there's more than that one bus, rather than simply proceeding in an easterly direction to go in, they'll also be coming and going in a westerly direction because they'll be further along in the sidewalk, correct?
Where the bus door is, yes.
Now, this is an all-year-round operation, is it not?
Yes.
And as I am looking at your plans, that walkway is completely uncovered, correct?
Yes.
So it's your intention then to take people who are 65 years or older, some of whom are disabled, and unload them in this area and have them travel. How many feet did you say it was?
50 or 60 feet.
Oh, I think it's in the rain and the snow and inclement weather and everything else of that sort.
So, Ron, I think you
That's
were.
what you intend to do, isn't it?
I think you were here when you heard the testimony of the operator and the consultant who testified that obviously this is a highly regulated, state-regulated type of
Are you
use.
testifying now, Mr.
I'm responding to your question.
No, I'd like the question answered by the witness, not
Well,
by
he's
you.
not. He's not the operational
He
consultant.
designed this layout.
Right.
Well,
But I'm trying to help you because you missed a lot of the meetings because you came late to the game.
I read transcripts.
And so, if you read the transcripts, you heard the consultant testify as to the regulation. And if this site and the operation of this site is not approved by the state, there is no operation.
What does that have to do with this planning board's responsibilities with regard to granting a use variance? In other words, if you go,
There's no variance.
it's not permitted use in the zone.
There's no variance for what you're questioning him about.
But you need, okay, fine. Your testimony then is at this particular time, in times of inclement weather, rain, snow, freezing weather or whatnot, you're going to unload people 65 years or older, some of whom are in wheelchairs, to go anywhere from 60 to 80 feet or so to get into the building.
First, we're going to pick them up from the homes in the same inclement weather, yes.
Sorry?
We're going to pick them up from the homes in the same inclement weather, so we're aware of that, yes.
Okay. So, all right. So you're saying that, well, you're saying that because they may be getting onto the bus in inclement weather, that this particular applicant coming before this board doesn't have to take that into consideration?
It's not what I said.
How many minutes?
Thank you.
I
10
don't
minutes.
really have much more at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Chairman, could I make a motion that we add time? Because we spent about 20
We
minutes.
we have several other applications.
I really haven't
Get
spent
through
any time,
tonight.
I don't think, have I?
No, we spent time trying to figure out
We
what
spent-
meeting we're going to.
We spent 20 minutes talking about whether or not traffic questions were appropriate.
If
So,
we
you know,
didn't have
there's a lot
any
of
other-
people here that didn't even get to ask any
If we
questions.
didn't have, nobody else
I
came up
think-
for questions.
I think we started at 8:37, so that would make it 8:22.
7:37.
7:37 rather, so it would make it 8:22 when we
Yes.
finish, yeah.
Yeah, about another 10 minutes.
Why don't we let Mr. Gazarovski finish, then we can decide.
I really don't have much more to do, so I mean.
Okay.
We can get everything from the engineer tonight.
What?
We're
Yeah,
trying.
I really have very little, if anything less. Just, if you can, show me where, on this plan, you've provided for the storage of the buses.
I'll highlight this.
Let me rephrase that question.
Go ahead.
My understanding is that in the evening hours, when this facility is not being utilized, the buses will be stored on the site.
That's correct.
Where will they be stored?
They'll be stored in the westerly quadrant of the parking lot. There's 3 arrows on your plan, and there's 3 shadows under the...
Let me just step up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buses right here.
So what you're really doing is you're storing the
Mr.
buses.
Mr. Gazarovski, I'll ask you to wait till you get back to the microphone to speak.
So what you're saying is that you're going to be storing the buses in the drive aisles.
Behind the building in the bus driveway aisle, yes.
You're not storing them in parking spaces on the site.
No, parking is
Parking
totally
them in-
independent of the bus aisle.
You're parking them in the bus drive aisles.
Correct.
And leaving them overnight.
Correct.
Now, how about during the daytime, when perhaps because of the lack of clients, so to say, not all of the buses are being utilized to pick up persons, or they've already picked up their persons and now we're just simply going to be out of use? You're
Correct.
going to be once again storing them in the drive aisles?
They'll be stored in the drive aisle or against the curbing, ready to leave to pick up the next pickup.
Well, if they're being stored in the drive aisles, doesn't this impact the ability of emergency vehicles or fire vehicles to get to various sides of the building to fight a fire?
The entire front is free, and
The back isn't free, is it?
well,
You're going to have buses lined up there.
the buses are not immediately adjacent to the building.
They're immediately adjacent and onto the drive aisles, aren't they?
They're on the drive aisle, correct.
Now, if you know, and you may not know this information, what's the approximate size of those buses?
I believe it's 20, there's a range, it's 26 feet approximately.
These are diesel engines or gasoline powered engines? If you know.
I don't know, it could be either.
Do you know whether or not the use of a diesel and or a gasoline engine has an impact upon the quality of the air and the depositing of fuel or other items in the parking aisles?
I don't believe it will.
Okay. Do you know if these buses will all be uniform in color?
Don't know that.
You know whether these buses will all have the names of the Lakeside Adult Medical daycare center painted on the side of them?
It's not an engineering question.
I'm not asking as I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Okay. So that, having said that, anybody then who is looking at this, I'll strike that question. With regard to the letter from Princeton Hydro, you said that you read it on the night of the meeting, correct? I think you said that.
I think I said that, yeah.
Okay, now, since that time, have you revisited that letter to determine whether or not there's merit to some of the comments that Princeton Hydro made?
No, I did it the night of the last meeting, and at that time there was merit, and that's why I said we would adjust the plan accordingly, again, based on what the board determines. There were some comments that we could, if they wanted to change a plant species, we had no problem changing a plant species. If they had a recommendation, we would consider it. Some of their comments were items that they would like to see. There was no mandates in the letter.
But having said that, I know I've asked this question before, since that date, you've done absolutely nothing to interact with Princeton Hydro.
I did nothing.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Yeah. Okay. You thought I was going to be a lot longer, didn't you?
We're looking forward to it. Okay.
You gave 1000 Wickapicker Drive. With regards to the operation expert that you brought a few months ago, and he gave his testimony, was he looking at this current plan, or it was the plan when you intended to drop your clients at the front?
At the time he testified, we had the other plan. He has this plan was prepared in consultation with him, because he is our liaison with the state in terms of the ultimate approval by the state for the operation.
I recall that he said him and the traffic expert, they both said that they would be delighted to come back and answer more questions. And the reason that I would like to know if it's possible to revisit the testimony of the operation consultant, because he said that the state's supposed to grant this thing, but we still have over here, there's a major gap between this plan and the other plan as to where they're going to be dropped off and the distance of how long your client's supposed to arrive into the front door. And I think it's a question that needs to be answered by him as the expert. Or if we can, I guess.
Mr. Chair, I was going to get into that because the last time I was here, if you recall, not the operator, but the owner spent a great deal of time testifying. He sat over here because there are numerous questions, and I do think that he should be subject to cross-examination at a later date.
Mr. Brodsky,
The owner is
respond?
here. The owner is here and has been here.
Okay, but all I'm saying is then you're prepared to accept that he can't be cross-examined as to his testimony.
As to whatever he testified to, sure.
Is it possible to revisit testimonies and bring the traffic expert and the operation expert?
We're not inclined to bring them back. We're at our 8th hearing in this application.
Even though they showed up once and they said that they will be delighted to come back?
They showed up more than once, and their testimony and cross-examination was completed.
But we have a new
and
plan.
you've spoken a number of times, and I thought the rules were each person speaks.
But now we have a new plan that changed the whole surface.
Yes, it's a better plan that was recommended and endorsed by the board's professionals.
But we need to then bring the expert to vouch for this.
You can test it. This is for questions for the engineer. You can testify.
But there's a new plan with
I
new
think-
sidings, a
I
new
think-
entrance.
I think he answered your question. You may not like the answer, but I think he answered it and he said no.
Can the board ask for the former testimonials by the
No.
to come back? And the reason?
Well, we possibly could if the board wants to, but the applicant presents his own case, and if he fails to bring somebody back, the board can consider that
The
and
only
weigh
reason
it accordingly.
I'm with you. The only reason I'm asking because there is a whole new plan.
I
over here.
understand. We understand if the
What's
board
your
feels.
what would be your question for the traffic engineer?
Well,
I'm going
no,
to
it
object
wasn't.
to Mr. Brodsky asking that question.
He's asking me questions.
Well,
I never
you're
testified.
not supposed to
You don't
answer.
represent him.
No, I know, but we're
I
also
thought you did.
following decorum with regard to this.
Well, first of all, I'll answer it. Number one, it is up to Mr. Brodsky at this point whether or not he wants to bring any of those people back. Number one. Number two, if the board feels that they need that testimony, they'll have to tell us at a later date and we can review it.
I don't have a problem.
Okay?
So I would like
And
to ask
number
for
three, if they don't bring them back, the board can weigh that accordingly. And then when the deliberation, you know, they can say, well, he didn't come back. Well, I
Fair
don't know what
enough.
he would have said.
So just to summarize it, the only reason
You
I'm
have to
here,
summarize it.
standing
We got
here, because there is a new plan,
We got it.
and we would love to get the experts answering some further questions about the new plan, not the old plan. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, it seems like from these questions, the concerns center around what door people will be going in and how far they would have to walk. So through you, could we ask, is it possible to use both doors?
Yeah, let me just have Rich speak to that. I thought we had hit this last time, but I may be wrong.
We thought that from an operation point of view, if you came in one door and left another door, you would not have a conflict of the bus. The bus can be dropping off here, the other bus can be sitting here waiting to take people away. Obviously, that can be worked out based on the time the bus comes, but if there's simultaneous arrival and departure at the mid-afternoon time frame, it would make sense to have one drop-off.
There's no afternoon. There's no afternoon. They've already advised us and withdrawn any afternoon.
No afternoons.
No afternoons.
It's been a long 8 meetings, okay.
I know, but I believe that
No,
you had
certainly
said
did.
there will be no
First thing we
afternoons.
said at the last meeting.
All right.
Wait, let him finish. Let him finish.
So to answer the question then, there could be multiple doors used. The idea of using the back door was that the last bus would not have to, if the last bus was here dropping people off, he would have to leave the site, turn around and come back to park. If the last drop off is here, the bus has room. Turn around and stay on the property and not leave the property.
Wow. Paired with spare batteries.
But on a snowy morning, 3 buses show up at the same time, they could pull up to that front door.
Excuse me,
in.
don't
I'm sorry,
testify.
I set you up for that.
Unless he borrows Mr. Bronsky's money.
Okay, so on a snowy morning, yes, more than one bus could drop off and pick up simultaneously along the curb and gutter line where the sidewalk is proposed.
Is that the new testimony now?
That was the answer to the board's question.
Mr. Gazarovski, I hate to be a pain, but can you?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I don't think this board can entertain testimony dealing solely with the premise that we're only going to have morning classes, so to say, because he hasn't agreed to that. He said,
They did.
They did.
Let me finish. He says that for a period of time when he first opens, he will have only classes in the morning, but he did not say that forever and ever.
Yes,
he'll
we
never
did.
seek to
Yes,
have-
we did. We agreed to that.
Number one, he did, and number two, it certainly would be a condition of any approval that there could not be afternoon sessions.
At any time, forever.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's a use variance, and if
Because
it's not
we
specific, they'll have to
agreed
come back.
to that as a condition
Not
of
come back.
approval.
Well, we can't deny an applicant from coming back at a later date. We can only give conditions as how it's going to operate now.
I will cross that bridge.
Okay. We've reached our time limit. We're going to carry this application.
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, if I could ask Mr. Brodsky,
Yes.
for next time, could you
Yes.
discuss, I have one issue I wanted to raise, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to speak to your client and your traffic
Sure.
engineer about it. So I apologize to the board, but I want to ask him now.
Yeah.
A number of the people who came up are on Ballard,
Oh.
which is a street, was the common way on Wickapeco. That's how we go to Route 35. We cut down Ballard if people want to or not. That's how it goes. But you can also go
Not Ballard, Bimbler.
Bimbler, sorry,
Dimbler, Belmont, yeah.
Bimbler. But you can also go all the way down Wickapeco to Asbury Avenue, make a right on Asbury Avenue, go out to the circle that way. When your traffic engineer was here, he said he would not advise going through any, as I understood his testimony, on any of the side streets where a lot of these people are, and they would be staying on major roads, but we didn't specify which were the major roads. Would your client be willing to specify the route, the planned route, unless there is an actual client to pick up on one of these side streets, would be simply to go down Wickapeco to Sunset, which is only a few blocks more, make a right there, and go out to Route 35, because that will stop a lot of the conflict with the potential school buses and with
You go down to
Asbury Avenue.
You said Sunset.
Did I say Sunset?
No, I
I'm
know what
sorry.
you meant.
Don't go to Sunset. We
No,
don't
no,
want you
I-
going that way. We want you to go down
Wickapeco down to.
Wickapeco down to Asbury. Make a right on Asbury. Go to the circle there, which will stay away from most people's houses. So if you would just address that the next one, I just wanted to raise it.
Okay, Miriam, what's our next date for this?
Well, our next meeting, I believe, is August the 2nd, but I believe, Mr. Brodsky, you're not available that evening, so it would be September the 7th.
September 7th, Mr. Brodsky?
Yes, and so, Ron, you've completed your cross-examination, and are there no further questions for the engineer?
Unless, of course, he indicated he might be coming back, then obviously I'll have the questions concerning that, right?
If he has additional testimony? Sure.
Okay, the application of Lakeside Adult Medical Daycare Center LLC is hereby carried to our meeting of September 7th, 2017. This will serve as public notice. No further notice is required. Thank you. Very good. He's here.
He's in the back.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Where you going? Make it quick. Don't leave it 3. I'll leave it. Marianne, all right, this isn't funny.
What's the official?
Almost there.
We always ask good questions. It's off the board.
Well, there was a lot of years there.
I'm just putting it down. I don't want to get
But I didn't have any of my street names right.
A lot of questions. A lot of years and a lot of questions.
You didn't get your stuff.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot.
Everyone should go to the bathroom.
This is in front of you.
It is, but I want to get them.
Really?
Get out of here in 2 minutes or less. Otherwise, it's going to get really long. You're going to get
Nobody should be on that table. But I'm going to ask a good question. Do nothing.
It goes around, so most people don't.
You didn't have
All right, okay.
I'll see if I can.
Yeah, can you please take your conversations outside? Thank you.
Got a great home.
Yeah. Thank you. Can we? Get the heck out of here. It is Sergeant at Arms. Okay, the next application is case number 2, 181 Larchwood LLC. Block 12.04, Lot 13, 181 Larchwood Avenue, Oakhurst, in an R4 zone.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have
Okay.
to swear in Mr. Fitzgerald as our official engineer.
Yes, I'm sorry. We're Mr. Fitzgerald has
Raise your right
returned,
hand.
and we're
Do you
going to
solemnly
swear him in.
read all that?
I, William E. Fitzgerald, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, and that all testimony I shall provide during all hearings throughout my term shall be under oath, and therefore will be a legal obligation to speak the truth at all times. I do further solemnly swear that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all of the duties of the Township of Ocean Board of Adjustment Engineer according to the best of my ability, so help me God. I don't have a pen with me.
Congratulations, Bill.
Thank you.
We got you again.
27, huh?
Okay, moving right on. Next new case, again, 181 Larchwood LLC, block 12.04, lot 13, 181 Larchwood Avenue, Oakhurst in an R4 zone. This is an application to construct a second-story addition, convert the garage into living space, alter the existing enclosed porch into additional living space, and keep AC condensers with variances for side yard setback under minimum, rear yard setback under minimum, building coverage over maximum, front yard setback under minimum for accessory structure. Attorney for the applicant, Jeffrey A. Donner. Good evening, Mr. Donner.
Good evening, Mr. Good.
We have a packet here. Could you mark the packet B1 with tonight's date and give us your report, please?
Sure. My report is dated July 19th, 2017. The applicant wishes to construct a second-floor addition over a one-story portion of an existing residence and keep AC condensers with variances. Wow, with variances. I'm not sure what happened there. A side yard setback variance is required of 5.78 feet, where a minimum of 10 feet is required. Rear yard setback of 22.41 feet, where a minimum of 30 feet is required. Front yard setback for the AC units on this corner lot of 25 feet, where a minimum of 30 feet is required. And building coverage of 28.6%, where a maximum of 27% is required. All are existing conditions. I have two concerns. The existing garage is being converted to additional living space, as well as the enclosed porch. The floor plans do show an area for storage along the rear of the building of approximately 96 square feet that has a door to the outside. The board may wish to restrict this area against any further conversion to living space in order to allow some area for storage for yard equipment, bikes, etc. That's because we're already over the maximum for lot coverage. Since the garage is being converted to living space, the required 2 on-site parking spaces for the site must be located on the driveway. The driveway is in disrepair. As a condition of approval, the board may wish to require the satisfactory repair or replacement of the driveway with permanent pavement.
Thank you. Bill, you have engineering comments on this?
I didn't really have any engineering concerns outside of any planning concerns that arise.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Donner.
Good evening, members of the board. I think that Ms. Wozlensky really covered a very important factor here, and that is that if my client did nothing to this property, the variances that we're seeking tonight would still be, the conditions that support the variances that we're seeking tonight would still be in place. And what we're essentially trying to do is to take a property that was built in or about 1965 and make it better. And as my planning expert will support, this is a process that's supported by the municipal land use law. It's a process supported by the master plan of the township. It revitalizes a neighborhood. It restores and helps property values. It actually increases property values by increasing investment in a neighborhood. And we'll take a house that was built over 50 years ago at this point and make it something that can be utilized in a very effective way in today's life in Ocean Township for a new family. With that, since it's really just a planning exercise here, and I don't want to take more time from the board than we need, I'd like to call my first witness, Barbara Allen, who I believe should have already been qualified as an expert because I believe she's the planner on the prior application.
No, not yet.
No?
Not yet.
All right, then we'll go ahead and do it. We'll note it for the next application when she has to be qualified for that.
I'm not sure we'll get there on that one either. So.
Okay. Before we begin, I just want to clarify one thing, because it's my understanding, even though I applied for 4 variances, and one of them was a variance, a front yard variance for the AC condensers, because they were initially going to be put in the area facing the Lawrence Avenue, that we got guidance from the building department, and under their guidance, we actually moved the condensers to the yard area facing Larchwood Avenue, and I don't believe that variance is any longer required. It's still in place if I'm wrong. Okay, it's still in place if I'm wrong, but I think that the AC condensers were moved to an area where the variance would no longer pertain.
Check that and see if we need a variance.
Well,
Looks like he's moved it back beyond the building line.
yeah, it looks like it's on the north side of the house, is that correct?
I believe so, facing Larchwood.
Excuse
All right,
me.
let's
Why don't
get
you
Jeff,
tell us where it is on the
let's-
survey?
Whoa, wait.
The only plan I have.
Hold on. Let me get your witness sworn in first before we proceed. Could you raise your right hand, please? I swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Okay, state your name and credentials and your connection with the application, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Allen. My last name is E-H-L-E-N.
Okay, got it.
I am a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey and an AICP. I obtained my undergraduate degree from Binghamton University and my master's from Monmouth. I've worked at Beacon Planning since 2008, and I've worked my way up to project manager.
Okay, we'll accept your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Good. I guess what we can do, we can present Ms. Allen's testimony first, and then we can clarify whether that fourth variance is actually necessary. Is that acceptable?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I'm concerned about is what you're talking about is not part of the packet, and what they have in the packet are plans showing a different location, and that's already been marked into evidence. So can you tell us where it is that the new units are going?
Can you identify where they are?
Yes, can I put it, check it here, please?
Yes, please. Fine. We're gonna mark as our first exhibit this board. You need to actually mark it, Ms. Walensky.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, before we start speaking, let's get.
I'm going to mark this as A1 with today's date. Can you identify what it is?
The board contains 4 photos depicting the subject property, as well as 3 homes in the nearby neighborhood.
I guess the first question is.
Jeff, you have to speak into the microphone. It's, so the people out there in TV land can hear you.
Can you identify, Ms. Allen, where the AC condensers are presently?
They've actually been moved over to here, which is, this is Larchwood, and they're behind all this landscaping. So they're actually pretty well screened. It took me a second to find them.
That's the subject house, right?
Yes, this is the subject property.
And the other 3 houses are just houses in that neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're on the north side of the house, but on
the west. Along the Larchwood front.
Larchwood frontage.
It doesn't bear any resemblance to what you're holding, because that's what I was looking at.
Okay.
Go on
Well,
front
can you
wall.
identify them on the survey, not on the picture? Because there isn't, we were given a submittal of where the 3 different condensers would be.
Why don't we mark that as Exhibit A2, which identifies where the AC condensers are.
And all 3 will now be located there?
Is that correct?
There's,
Go hard.
hold on. There's 2 located there.
Two.
The original application had 3 condensers, so you've reduced the number.
Where's the 3rd condenser?
My understanding there was.
All right.
We can't.
The 3rd condenser, I did see. Can I have that survey back?
I haven't marked it yet.
Over here. So in a nutshell, the 1 condenser on the north side of the house is staying there, and the 2 that were facing Lawrence are now facing Larchwood.
Correct.
And they're behind existing landscape.
They're behind the landscaping.
Okay.
I guess the real question is, are they behind the setback line? That's
That's really exactly the issue.
What's the setback in the zone?
It's 30 feet, and it's 35.2 there, so depending on the size, it may now need...
Wait, talk to your lawyer.
We have supplied specification to show the width of that.
I'd have to go through that right now, and given that they're in different locations, I don't know that they're the same size units.
Well, the reason we moved them was because we were informed that it would not incur the variance, and that's what the building department wanted us to do.
So the answer is simply this: we will not grant that variance, and they have to be within behind the setback line. They'll have to move them.
Well, there aren't many condensers that are bigger than 5 feet, so it shouldn't be a big issue.
I believe that they're less than 5 feet.
Well, it's up to the applicant. You can't tell us where they're going to be, so we can't grant you a variance. So if you're satisfied to put them behind the setback line, you don't need a variance.
So simply, you're just withdrawing the application for that variance. And then we'll assume when you go for your building permit, you'll comply.
Put them in the right
Otherwise, you'll be
place.
back.
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting?
That is satisfactory. Obviously, we can't get the variance that we initially applied for because the condensers are not in that location, and we're satisfied that the current location will not incur a setback variance.
So you don't need that variance?
Correct.
That's withdrawn.
So we're looking for 3 variances now.
Okay.
May I continue? May I start, I guess?
Sure.
All right.
Ms. Allen, you have visited the site.
Yes, I've visited the site. I've walked the neighborhood as well and taken
All right.
photos of same.
And from a planning perspective, could you describe the site for us briefly, please?
Okay. The parcel is developed with a single-family home. The home dates to the 1960s. It's a corner lot, and the parcel itself is irregular in shape. It has like a notch at its northeast corner that kind of cuts in, which is what triggers the variance related to the garage side yard setback. And the surrounding area is typified by single-family homes as well. If we are looking through, what the applicant is proposing to do is to add a second story to the garage, to convert it to a livable space, as well as convert an enclosed porch area to livable space. The variances that we're asking for, as were noted, were for minimum side yard setback, and I was hoping to go through each of them. Minimum side yard setback, 10 feet required, where 5.78 exists and is proposed. This is actually the back corner of the garage. It's what's triggered it's triggered by the notch in the parcel that comes inward. And I would note, actually, when you come further by the street line, it more than meets the setback requirement for the side yard. So there's not necessarily a visual intrusion or anything that would necessarily lead you to believe that they're in violation. The rear yard setback, 30 feet required, where 22.41 exists and is proposed to the northern property line. This is just converting an already existing enclosed porch to livable space. When reviewing it actually from the street, it appears more as a side yard. And the side yard would only require a 10-foot setback requirement. So in this case, it does give the visual spacing that you're looking for in the zone. Maximum building coverage is proposed to stay the same, 28.6%. The applicant is respecting how the house was established. They're not proposing to expand. They're not imposing on anyone's light and open space, because they respect the building height standards as well. When we look at the master plan for the community, we note that stated goals and objectives include to provide adequate, affordable, and balanced supply of housing types for current and prospective population of the township, and more importantly, to maintain the character and value of existing residential neighborhoods. The applicant this evening is proposing to reinvest in an existing home. The home dates the 1960s, and they want to update it to accommodate a more modern family. People want the extra spaces for dens, for places to work at home, things of that nature. And so they're investing in the community, and it shows that. When we look around the neighborhood, I literally just walked around their block and looked at houses on their block and the blocks adjoining. I noted this home down here where it appears as though a garage or an addition was attached. that could have been a garage and converted to living space. This is on Lawrence as well, and this is on the opposite side of the block, where you could see that there's a second floor addition, there's first floor living space, and just one garage door provided. So it's not atypical in the area to have these spaces enclosed or to have living space above the garage.
Now, what we're seeking to do you find it to be consistent with the master plan?
I do find it to be consistent with the master plan, with the goals of reinvesting and keeping your neighborhoods vibrant. I believe it qualifies for relief under the C1 criteria, the hardship, because these setbacks have already been established, and they were established most likely with the construction of the home originally.
And is the proposal that my client is seeking to accomplish with the home also consistent with the municipal land use law?
Yes, it is. As I said, with what we would call the C1 criteria, which is a hardship, through no fault of their own. This was how the home was built. These setbacks were already established, and they're respecting them. They're not exacerbating any conditions.
Do you find that what we're trying to do would facilitate an increase of adequate light and air in the neighborhood? And do you find that it would also encourage various public and private activities shaping land development to use land more efficiently and lower the cost of available houses?
So it does respect light, air, and open space just because the home is not going over on height. So they're not infringing on anyone's open area. The height is anticipated by the zone. And when we talk to more efficient use of land, we're already using a single-family home. We're just bringing it current in order to accommodate family and to reinvest.
All right, now this is known as a C1 type variance. Can you talk about the respective standards for seeking a variance of this type?
There are two standards typically. C1 is hardship, by which reason of the zone, by reason of the parcel having encumbrances. In this case, we have a notch at the northeast corner of the parcel, which triggers the variance associated with the garage. Additionally, as I stated, the home has already been constructed. I mean, it's a home from the 1960s. They can't shift the home to make it compliant. You could also look at the C2 criteria, which is a balance test when you're reversing the positives versus the negative. You're supposed to have substantial detriment in order to decline the proposal. In this instance, I don't see any. They're using the parcel for what it's intended, a single-family home. Therefore, traffic, noise, trash, and everything else is already anticipated at that level.
So you're finding no substantial detriment?
No.
Okay, and you're finding consistency with the master plan of the township?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is there any way that my client could possibly correct this in light of the fact that this community is already developed, that there does not appear to be any additional land?
No, the surrounding neighborhood is fully developed. There's no additional land by which to cure the deficiencies. And at this time, as I said, the home is established.
And if my client never proposed this project at all, the conditions that establish the need for variances, would they still be the same?
Yes, they would.
And the alternative would be to require them to demolish some part of the...
demolish or shift the house, you know.
Okay. In terms of positive criteria, do you find that the purpose of the municipal land use law are met with this application?
Yes, as discussed with the light, air, and open space and more efficient use of land.
And do you find that the benefits of the deviation of these variances really outweigh the negative impact they might have?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In regard to negative criteria, can this, I think we already established it can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. I think we also may have established that it will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Just if you haven't fully explicated what we're looking at in terms of variance, we have, I think, as you noted, a 5.78 foot minimum. We have a side yard setback of 5.78 feet, where 10 feet are minimally required, and what we're proposing is the existing condition, correct?
Correct.
All right. In terms of the minimum rear yard setback, there's a 30-foot required setback, and we offer 22.41, which is existing.
Which is existing.
And in terms of maximum building coverage, 27% is permitted, where 28.6% exists and is proposed.
That's correct.
And that deviation is about 150 square feet, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So in terms of looking at the various homes in the neighborhood and looking at our subject property, could you tell that our subject property with the naked eye exceeds the maximum building lot coverage?
Not at this time.
So in terms of your position as our planning expert and your recommendations in terms of these variances, what is your final conclusion?
I believe the variances can be granted without substantial detriment to the community.
All right. Does the board have any questions? I'm done with my.
Yeah, I got this. All right, so the variance is all pre-existing, so you're not asking for anything new.
Correct.
Have you seen Mrs. Walensky's report?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, you have any problem with restricting the storage area to be storage area, not someday?
The client indicates that would be fine.
And we would do that?
On that?
And we do that? Yeah, I'm sorry, go
On
ahead.
that storage area, I just want to make a suggestion. You're going to a 7-bedroom house, and you have a den and a study. That storage area is 7'11" by 8 foot. That's 3 bicycles. That's it. A garden hut. There's really no storage in this house, and then you're over by lot coverage by, you can't come back. You couldn't even put a little shed up in the back. Are you sure? You can't put anything up. You couldn't even have a shed for garbage cans. Is that big enough? I mean, should you shift a bedroom to one of the studies and make a bigger storage area? I mean,
That would be a question more for the applicant.
Can I make a suggestion? I think it's really a question for the ultimate user and purchaser of the house.
Well,
whether they find that to be adequate, and if they don't find it to be adequate, it's a detriment to the sale, or it's going to be reflected in the sale, or they may decide not to use one of the bedroom areas and use it for their own storage, but that's really up to them, and with all due respect, I'm not sure it's related to the variances that we're seeking.
Well, they're not going to be able to put storage if this is constructed the way it's designed. There's not going to be any storage because there's no ingress or egress from the outside to any of those other rooms. So, I mean, if it's converted to storage, it's going to be storage of boxes or ornaments. There's not going to be any storage of bicycles, lawn equipment, or anything from the outside into there. So, and I think it is pertinent because you're intensifying the use here by adding another story. It's very pertinent as to whether we think there's adequate storage for normal operation, or whether this particular design and what's being requested is an invitation to violate the statute by putting up other structures in there without benefit of permits, or keeping the lawn cluttered with a bunch of lawn equipment and whatnot that won't fit into the storage space.
I am informed, however, Mr. Walter, that there is a full basement here, so that would be an additional storage area.
How would you access that from inside?
From the front door area? I'm informed that it's access from the front door area.
I think the concern is that the lot coverage is already over. It's not unusual for people that have garages to have also a shed. In this particular case, I was actually pleased when I went through and saw that there was some storage area left. But as we hear any number of times, and as I think all of us who have homes recognize, basements are good for certain kinds of storage. They're not particularly good for yard items. They're not particularly good for bicycles and, gosh, I can think of all the stuff that's in my garage. Porch furniture that needs to maybe be moved in over the winter. Those kinds of things you can't get down a front staircase or a staircase to the basement, particularly if you're going through the front door. So I think that's where the concern is that you have a lot that has very little rear yard area, And certainly you can't put a shed of any size on the property at all. So that, I believe that's generally the reason why you want to make sure that that storage area doesn't be converted to some other kind of use.
I also have a question.
I'm also informed that we can.
Wait till you sit down and get
Get closer to the microphone.
I'm also informed that we can expand the storage area by 4 feet or so, 3 to 4 feet, and use some of the area of one of the bedrooms to do that. So that would
Well,
ease the problem.
What we've done in the past in order to enforce that restriction and make sure there's not going to be some kind of an external storage which would violate the lot coverage is we would have a deed restriction in the title to say that no outside storage facility would be permitted since you're over the maximum right now. Because we've had people unscrupulously put up sheds or whatever, and now they come and complain that there's they didn't know, they couldn't do it. So what we usually like to do is have a deed restriction that would have that in it. That two things. Number one, there will be no further outside storage. Number two, that this what you're showing is storage cannot be converted into non-storage area, living space.
Yeah, we've already agreed to that.
Okay.
How many bedrooms are existing?
Existing bedrooms, I think,
Excuse me, you can't, you could get sworn in.
I think there's 3, and with the additional space there'll be 7. The additional development there'll be 7.
Okay. And would you further agree to Marian's comments about the driveway to be repaired?
I believe we've
All right, to the satisfaction, Bill, you can.
That's fine.
To the satisfaction of
Wait,
the.
wait, wait. What I need to know, I guess they'll have to amend the plans to show us storage area.
Yes, yes.
With the garage going away and 7 bedrooms in this residence, how many cars do you anticipate parking in that driveway?
Well, most likely only 2. We're talking about, young children and people like that coming into a house. I guess as children get older, maybe another car or 2. But I will also point out that while I think the requirement is 2 on-site parking spaces, the driveway is long enough to provide for 3 to 4 cars.
3 to 4 cars.
I really don't think it is. I think you'd be lucky to stack 2 cars in there.
Really?
Honest.
I don't know.
Is there parking permitted on that street, Bill?
I'm looking at it.
There's parking permitted on
There is,
Lawrence,
okay.
I believe. I'm not 100% sure about Larchwood. I think it is, but I rarely see cars parked there. Simply because it's a
Busy
fair
street,
amount
too.
of volume for a local residential
Yeah.
street.
The way I look at it, and obviously.
I'm thinking that the driveway ought to be widened to 19 feet.
But won't that cover more?
No, it doesn't cut that.
That's not building
Good
coverage,
point.
that's total impervious, and I think he's okay on that, but it gives you probably the ability to store 4 cars in there as long as they're not monsters.
So you're agreeable to that? Yeah.
And we're gonna pave it? Okay, so we'll get an acceptable pavement section, 19-foot driveway, and then whatever storage that the board decided it wants.
Okay. We have anything else?
Bill, I just have a question about that. Will that work at the, I see that the driveway comes in at an angle.
Yeah.
Is it still gonna be, not too close to the side property line if you build it that way?
It's not easy to tell the scale of the drawing.
Right, that's why I asked.
Bill, here's it's a to scale one.
We'll do our best here, right? He'll have his adequate setback against the easterly side, even if he widens it all to the east.
Can you widen
The
it? some-
driveway setback residential stuff is 5 feet.
I will make it, you can maybe widen it on the other side too, a little bit.
You know,
Just-
that could be too. There's a heavy line there, a different kind of line. Maybe it's curved, maybe it's not. I'm not really sure what it is, but
Okay.
it looks like it's a little bit tough to widen in that direction. You got to jog in the house. I mean, he's going to comfortably make his 5-foot setback to the east.
Okay, but it'll be to your satisfaction,
Yeah,
you'll
exactly.
come up with
We're going to look at a plan with
something.
dimensions and everything written all over it.
Okay, all right. Anybody have anything else from the board?
I have a question about the pictures. Do we know how many bedrooms are in the houses that you're comparing?
I do not know, I'm sorry.
Mark, do we have any responsibility on when it comes to the intensity of use?
Well, it's light air and open space. You know, if you know, probably not.
It's just an awful lot of bedrooms for a very small space. May I ask the witness, on any of these other properties you gave us pictures of, I don't see any garages that were converted. I see one garage that's part of a house, but the others don't look like garages that were converted to me. It just looks like one is a house without a garage, and I can't tell. I'm too far away from the other picture, and it wasn't given to the board to determine what the other one was. I see shrubs.
I'm sorry. So down here,
Yes.
you can kind of see the majority of the home, and then this partial section that was over here that appears to have been an addition. That's just one story and would be where you would put the garage.
But is it a garage, or was it a
No,
house?
it's not a garage. It's a part of the house.
Okay, but was it a garage that was converted, or was it built that way?
I cannot, actually, I don't know.
You don't know.
No, but I was looking through the neighborhood for houses that kind of had that feel to them, that maybe something was added on that would have been in a place of a garage.
Okay, and the same with the picture in the upper right-hand corner. You don't know if that was converted or if that's just how it was built.
Or if it was addition, since the main home appears to have been here.
Okay.
And then over here, it appears as though a second story was added, and there's only one garage, because over here is another residential entrance.
Okay, so, but they could have been built that way, with the garage.
They could have been built, but they looked more like they had been additions.
Thank you.
Before you go, where is the garage on the subject property?
The garage is at the end of the existing
I don't
of the
see it.
driveway
Okay.
that's shown on the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Where?
There was.
There was, it's already probably been converted. There are no garage doors on that side. There are now windows that are consistent with what the floor plan is. They would be able to get a permit for that because there were no variances associated with the conversion of the garage. The concern that I raised, again, was because now we know that the garage is gone. There were other variances involved, and you may not have been willing to grant the entire configuration without the issue of storage being available. And that's also why I mentioned the driveway, because clearly that's out of the question now that you'd be using the garage for those other purposes.
All right, so the subject property the garage has already been converted, so we're looking to give a variance for that after the fact.
No.
It doesn't require a
No,
variance.
it does not require a variance. It's only listed, I believe, by Mr. Donner in his application, by me in my report, because it is coincident with the other things that are happening and causes. So
So we would not
they
need a
got
variance
they
for that.
got permits for
Okay.
converting the garage. But if you
alright.
said tonight, but we don't believe the whole package is good, they haven't been able to get permits for the second story addition.
All right, so the second story addition is not been built. I
Right.
can't see the house on that side. Is it down, is it flat roof, is it a peaked roof? Gabled?
I have a front view of the house, if it would help.
Chairman, I'd also recommend that a resolution, if there's an approval, container
Bill?
restriction, container restriction that access, or driveway access be, continued to be from, what do you call it? Side street, Lawrence. And no driveway access at any time from Larchwood.
Good point, Bill. Good point. Mr. Steinberg has his copious notes, and I'm sure he'll include that. Anybody else have any questions or concerns from the board? Jeff, do you have anything else to add?
I don't have anything else to add.
Anyone from the public here to be heard? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
No.
No? Mr. Steinberg, speak up.
Lean forward.
Oh, lean forward. I forgot that part. It turns out that some of the information was supplied through Mary Ann to me as to ownership of the property. This was once 186 Larchwood LLC. It is now 181 Larchwood LLC.
Correct.
And they changed, the same people changed the name legally through the Secretary of State. I don't know why, but they changed it from 186 Larchwood to 181 Larchwood to 186 Larchwood. The deed is still in 186 Larchwood.
You said it backwards. We changed it from
Whatever.
186 Larchwood to 181. The reason being that was the address of the property.
Right.
Okay.
So we need also as a condition that the deed match the current ownership.
Correct.
Okay.
Which we've already
I
initiated.
addressed that with Mr. Donner, but that'll be a condition of approval also.
Okay.
They provide a recorded deed in the name of the current, in the name of the applicant, which is the current owner.
Right. But
Makes
there's no
sense.
doubt that the same principle
Yeah.
exists, whether it's named 186 Larchwood
Right, I
LLC or
agree.
181.
I agree. So I mean, you don't need, but it should match.
But we've already initiated that.
Okay, good. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I move.
Second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Someone want to move this application?
Confusing for me.
I'm sorry?
Too confusing for me.
Too confusing?
I'll move for a positive resolution with the conditions that were discussed in Mary Ann's, and also concerning the change in the deed restriction, and slight modification to the floor plan to show the extra couple of feet in the storage area.
What about the
Is that covered?
driveway?
And the driveway
I got it.
widening.
And the deed restriction on further outside storage.
I think they have to also have to revise the plans to show you where that storage is, because they can't, as part of the deed restriction, they're gonna have to supply that floor plan has to be attached, so we kind of know the area for storage exactly.
Inside storage and outside, no outside storage. That's also
That too.
part, okay.
It could all be in one deed restriction. But I
Okay.
think we need to attach, they're gonna have to amend the plan to show us, they're expanding it by 3 to 4 feet, I don't know which way, the storage area.
Storage area, internally, yes.
Right, so that we need to have that plan, and I think that one sheet would be attached to the deed restriction to be recorded with all the other terms.
Okay.
So that there's no question of what area is to be dedicated in perpetuity to storage.
And not to be used as living quarters. Okay.
And there would also be a verification of where those air conditioner units are.
We don't have to do
No.
that. They have not been.
No, 'cause they don't have a variance
that
for it.
application.
You're saying the-
They're gonna
That's
have
their
to put it
problem.
on their building plans in the appropriate place.
Okay.
I second a motion.
Call the roll.
I abstain.
I'm not convinced that the proposed plan will match the surrounding area, so I vote no.
Yes.
I abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Robert's Rules of Order, an abstention goes with the majority. No, you don't have to go for additional votes. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's one more vote.
Yes.
So that's 4 anyhow. So 4 passes out of 7. And I believe the abstentions go with the majority under Robert's Rules of Order, or law, whatever that is.
No, think so.
Abstentions go with the majority, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
Argue
do.
with our
And it
attorney.
doesn't matter. 4 out of 7 passes.
Okay,
Thank you, members of the board. We appreciate your time.
thank you.
It's going to be memorialized on August the 2nd,
Nah, I don't think that's
September 7th.
I don't know. It's
Well,
now
get it.
August the 2nd, level close.
That's fine. So memorialized on September the 7th.
Yeah, let's go to 9/7 for all these because they
Okay.
have to submit amended plans anyhow.
Yeah.
That's fine.
If I can.
No.
Right.
No, I can't.
Mr. Donnie, you know,
One or the
you have
other.
to submit revised plans, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, next application.
Plans that fast anyway.
Over here. Get this right. Case number 3, Eric and Kelly Santiago, Block 79, Lot 2, 924 Bendemeer Avenue, Ocean, in an R4 zone. There's an application to construct a second-story addition and add a two-story addition. Variances are required for side yard setback under minimum, total side yard setback under minimum, building coverage over maximum. Good evening.
Good evening.
Who's going to testify?
Eric Santiago, 924 Bendemeer.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Give us your name and address, please.
Eric Santiago, 924 Bendemeer.
Thank you very much. Mary Ann, could you mark the packet B1 and give us your report, please?
Yes. My report is dated July 19th, 2017. The applicant wishes to demolish an existing one-story addition to the rear of an existing dwelling, construct a larger two-story addition to the rear, and add a second story over an existing one-story addition to the side of the house. The applicant will also need to remove one shed which was erected without approvals. One shed will remain. Variances are required for a side yard setback of 5.5 feet where 5.6 feet exists and a minimum of 10 feet is required. For total side yard setbacks of 19.89 feet where approximately 39 feet exists and a minimum of 25 feet is required. And for lot coverage of 29.1% where 16.9% exists and a maximum of 27% is allowed. I have two major concerns with this application. This is a lot of 10,475 square feet in the R4 zone. The minimum lot size in this zone is 10,000 square feet. Many other lots on that block are of a similar size, though the lot to the immediate west is about a third smaller. In order to conform to the ordinance requirements, the applicant would need to remove approximately 158 square feet. Given the size of the garage and the shed area, this should be achievable. Though I understand the applicant's personal circumstances, the statutes and case law do not allow the individual personal circumstances of an applicant to be considered. As presented, the layout of the bedroom number 5 area with an elevator which terminates in the garage may conversion to a separate living unit in the future easily accomplished. I believe that the zoning officer had a similar conversation with the applicant several months ago. The applicant should address this in testimony. So you might want to take a look at the pieces of the floor plan, which I believe are in the packet. Yeah.
Thank you. Bill, you have engineering concerns?
No engineering concerns on this, Mr. Chairman. It's all about planning, I think.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Santiago.
All right. I've got an 82-year-old mother down in Puerto Rico. I've got my in-laws down in Florida, now with a second house here in New Jersey, and they're getting up in age. They can't do stairs anymore. So I'm putting an elevator so they can have a room when they come visit their grandkids. If you want, I think it would be, we will take it with the title of the house that it cannot be divided into a separate unit, cannot be rented. It will always be a one-family house. What I have this is for my father-in-law who's here, who had his back fused a decade ago. Just about? Decade? Yeah. And he's got health conditions. I just saw him today trying to go upstairs to utilize the bathroom upstairs and having problems up the stairs. I'm building this so that the grandparents can come and hang out with my kids. I have no problem with something in the title saying it's always going to be a one-family home. It's for someone with a disability. That's it. No other intent.
You have any comments?
Well,
Anything?
it took
The
me
elevator
no
part.
time to look at it and figure out what the issue was. It's clear by the setup. Unfortunately, what I have to look at is not the individual circumstances of his situation, but the planning reasons for the community and the neighborhood. So that's why I asked for some testimony. I mean, certainly if the elevator ended in the kitchen, that would change it quite a bit. But it goes down another, I guess, you know, sort of another, risers. I understand that for their use then that becomes more difficult. From a long-term planning perspective, it's a better solution because 4 or 5 risers is a relatively short ramp. I don't know how much the 5 risers would be.
Well, it could be up to 35
yeah.
feet.
Again,
35
but
inches.
there are other ways that those things are handled. I understand his situation.
Mr. Santiago, is it possible to, and just trying to throw ideas out to solve the issues that you were talking about, is it possible to come up with a ramp of some kind to get from the garage to the first floor so that the elevator could go from the first floor to the second floor? In other words, the elevator was confined within the living areas of the house versus opening also to the garage. I'm just trying to come up with things that solve the issue and kind of get halfway to where you.
Excuse me, you have to stay.
It opens up into the first floor of the house. The elevator
Well, I
will
understand that.
open it.
It also opens up to the second floor and the garage. So
which is the purpose of spending $25,000 on an elevator.
Look, I'm not trying to be argumentative in any way. I'm trying to find somewhere in between where you are now, what the board's concerned about, that solves your problem, or at least 85% solves your problem. And
So what's the pitch that I would need for a ramp within my garage for this?
It's 1 inch and 12 feet, so it's 1 foot per foot of rise. So I'm not sure when I look at I'm trying to look at the floor plan here, and if I come out of the family room, going past the powder room, right, then I can open the door and go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it 5 risers, 4 risers, and how big are they, I guess? Is a riser, okay, so when I go just past the powder room, I step down onto that platform, that's 1 riser, and then there are 1, 2, then there's 4 more to get onto the garage floor. Do you remember how big? 7.5, okay, so you got 5, 7.5, so it's 37.5.
And then in the full.
Yeah, well, the gentleman's gonna testify, he's gotta come up and come under oath.
Well, we just kind of knock around ideas, we're not trying to. I don't think you can fit a 35-foot ramp in there because you need a 5-foot. I'm just saying.
You raise your right hand, sir.
I don't know what else to do.
Swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes.
What is your name and your connection with the application?
My name is Tom Lavin. I live at 908 Bendermere. I am also a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I prepared these drawings for my neighbors.
Okay.
One of the main reasons we put the elevator in the garage because of the whole issue of it not being a mother-daughter type house. These houses along Bendermere, right across from Monmouth School, were built in the late 20s. They were raised up because at that point it was swampland, so the basements were raised. So this house is approximately 4 feet up. So at 12 feet of ramp per 1 foot of rise, you're talking 48 feet of ramp in order to do any kind of a ramp. So that's why we placed the elevator inside, so that it would be strictly for the family use. There'd really be no way to make it into a two-family or an apartment to rent out. Beyond that, I don't.
The elevator terminates in a bathroom?
No.
No.
Bedroom 5.
No.
Bedroom.
It has access from the garage.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
And
looking
into
at
the living
wrong
room, and then into the bedroom up on the second floor.
I asked her, how many bedrooms does it have now?
3.5.
3.5.
3.5, yeah.
My baby girl sleep. The little one, the 3.5-year-old, sleeps in an 8x8 cell with no closet.
No closet.
Okay. And you want to go to a 5-bedroom with a 9.5 by 13 plus dressing room and 6 by 10 study, both of which are bigger than a small bedroom. So you've got really 7 rooms on the second floor that could be used as bedrooms, though you only have 5 labeled.
The room over the garage will be for my in-laws that will be living here 6 months out of the year.
Okay.
Right?
So it's to give them a little extra if they want to go off on their own and not be part of the family events. They have a little quiet space besides their bedroom.
I work for a company that allows me to work from home, and one of those bedrooms will probably have a laptop and a couple monitors, and telecommuting is the way.
You're stuck in the study, honey. Over there in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have issues with those things. I'm just wondering if there's any other way to address the elevator aside from the ramp. Is there something we can do with the way the garage is set up, or is there? I mean, I don't know what's possible.
I mean, I think it would be a rough figuring with Tom here. It sounds to me like it's going to be about 42.5 feet of ramp.
Yeah. So
That's
I see
the matter.
that.
I mean, it's got to have a switchback, or it's just not going to work.
Well, I think that he offered a deed restriction.
Yeah.
And certainly, when I put the comment here, I said they need to address it in testimony. So he's provided another option. It is certainly not, that doesn't mean that it couldn't be converted, but I can tell you that when things are sold, that really does become a pretty good enforcement method.
Yeah, we've done deed restrictions, and I have no problem with that. The issue that we've always tried to pass is to sort of modify a situation that it would be self-policing without a deed restriction, because the deed restriction is there, it's legal, but it's not always automatically enforceable. It becomes an enforcement issue, complaints, et cetera, down the road. So if there was a way to design something so that the deed restriction wouldn't be the only protection, that's what we're trying to come up with now. I agree with you, the deed restriction.
That's what we tried to do. We put it inside the house. I mean, we could have put it out on the side of the house, so that it had an entrance from outside.
Right, well, I'm just saying.
Into the back of the garage, so it's strictly for the family.
Can I ask another question? Is it possible to terminate the elevator on the first floor and just have a small kind of a lift that gets one up from the garage floor up to the little platform outside the door to the powder room, so that no matter how you cut it to get into the elevator, you'd have to.
Can I ask something else? I see these things all the time on TV, and of course, I'm a glutton for that. Why do you need an elevator at all? Why can't you just get one of those sheet things and sit on it, and it travels up the stairs and around corners, and
I think there's issues though with
it drops you off on the second floor, and it's done.
Henry, I think there's issues with transferring and things like with one of those lifts. I mean, someone in a wheelchair, they'd have to be moved from the wheelchair to the lift and then ascend the steps. So there are issues. I think we're overthinking this. I mean,
I'm just trying to make a suggestion. I don't know.
I have no concerns as long as there's a
Why
deed.
don't you go to the other issues? There's lot coverage.
That's more so than
that is an issue.
Yeah, but the elevator is not.
Well, the way the house is designed, if you sell the room upstairs, you can come into the elevator by yourself and not disturb the rest of the family. But
what about
I don't know too many people are going to rent to go into the garage to go up the steps, and there's no kitchen up there, so
Yeah.
it's a little hard to use.
As far as lot coverage, I mean, we tried to tighten it up as much as we could. I believe the Santiagos had come in here earlier, a couple of years ago, to do strictly the addition on the back and the side. And then with the changes to their parents and Mrs. Santiago's parents wanting to give up their house here but still have to be able to come and spend a couple months in the summer, that's when they decided to add the garage and the room above it for them. So that, we tightened it up as much as we could. I thought I had gotten it to the right amount, but when we submitted it, I realized that I hadn't included the porch as part of the coverage. So that bumped it up. That's when Mr. Santiago had agreed to take the one shed off to try to bring it down. I think we can also look at, because of adding the garage, they'd have storage. They can probably eliminate the other shed.
That's where I was going, or I said
Down
between
some more.
those things, there's,
Yeah,
it's
down
not a
as-
lot and it's
as
pretty
close to the
easily
coverage as
achievable.
So you're taking the other shed down?
I'll
No.
take the other shed down. I have no problem with that.
What would be the lot coverage then?
I don't I looked at it today in terms of the, do you remember what the size is of the shed? I don't,
9 by 2.
well, not something like that. He's gonna wanna get the number right.
Yeah, it's around 80 square feet. And they also have a dollhouse that's about 60 square feet.
That's not a permanent
80
structure.
square feet, just
Plastic, right?
over
No,
percent.
there's a picture in there.
80
It's
square
counted
feet's over a
as,
percent.
It does, it's not a he's thinking, he said it's a
It's not,
plastic
it's
dollhouse.
it's a built wood.
There's pictures in your packet.
It's adorable.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of.
They love it.
Their daughters are 8 and 5 right
8
now,
and 3.
4, so another 5-6 years it'll probably be.
I didn't suggest, Mark, it was Henry who suggested.
Take that away from the kids.
No, what I suggested is,
They're getting an elevator. They could go up and down in the elevator, the kids.
adorable.
Take the dollhouse.
I would
When they're out of
suggest,
when they're out of town, that elevator's getting locked. The last thing I need is kids running out and playing with the buttons.
No, you can't take the dollhouse away from the kids. I don't want to seem like a meanie.
Like I said, it'll go away in time as they get older, but for now, they're 8 and 3, so they play.
if you remove the other shed, you've cut the overage on the lot coverage almost exactly in half, actually a little bit more. So you've come closer. And again, remember that this is a larger lot than the norm in the zone. So that would be something that should be pretty easy to do.
So. 9.1, what are we cutting down? 1%?
Yeah, a little more than 1%.
It's approximately 28%? Yeah, without the shed, approximately.
Required is 27.
And I know Marianne had mentioned something about, making the garage smaller. As far as the width,
No, wait. What I suggested was, there were two ways that made it easy. I didn't suggest either way. It looked like there would be quick and easy answers here, so looks like they're
I'm
headed
just
for the
saying,
shed.
we made that width-wise as tight as we can.
Again, it looks
Yeah.
like
You don't
they're
gain
headed
much
for
out
the
of it. If you
shed.
take a foot off it either way, you don't gain anything out of it anyway. You gain 20
Exactly.
feet.
You can, since we're doing a deed restriction here,
We're talking 100 square feet if you want
since
to
we're
make
doing a
it.
deed restriction here, you could also indicate that the other shed has to be off by 5 years from now or 10 years from now when the kids don't use it.
You mean the dollhouse?
The dollhouse.
No.
Now, nobody wants to
It's
go
adorable.
enforcing removing a dollhouse.
Just go from one Grinch to another then.
No.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm glad you did.
Okay.
I think the shed takes care of that.
Yeah.
It brings it in close enough.
Well, take down a shed, that's one thing. Take down the dollhouse, no.
No planning reason on earth for that, right?
There's lots of planning reasons. I can actually go into testimony of what little girls like. We like little girls in one of my.
Who's taking the other shed away? Deed restriction.
I think realistically, there's not too much more we can do. I think we've done as much as we can. I think with the deed restrictions, we've tried. I'm satisfied that we've done enough.
When does this shed have to be down? Prior to the issuance of a CO.
prior to the issuance of a CO.
Yeah, once the house is,
Perfect,
the
thank you.
garage is built, the stuff can be moved in and it could be removed.
So there's no garage now, is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, when we bought the property, they had let the garage collapse upon itself, and they
Okay,
let me
so,
that.
so to the extent that you have a garage now, you're gonna, whatever you do with the cars, but you're gonna have additional storage area that you didn't have before, so that's why you didn't need the shed. Okay. I just think we've done as much as practical. We're
Did we ask
Be-
for public?
beating it dead now, but we're just getting to that point. Everybody else satisfied?
Recognize that means there's 2 sheds that will be removed.
Yeah.
They already agreed that one will come
The only
down.
thing that's gonna stay is,
Down, I'm not calling the dollhouse a shed.
Oh, there are
There's-
2 sheds?
yeah.
Yes, there are
Yeah.
2 sheds and 1
So the only thing, you don't need the sheds, because you got a garage, and the dollhouse is cute.
There's a letter in the packet from him identifying when the one that we were gonna have removed gets removed, and this one will be handled exactly at the same time.
Okay?
So
Everybody-
there's 3 structures? A dollhouse and 2 sheds?
Yes.
I missed that, I'm sorry.
And that is just gonna be a dollhouse, cute little dollhouse, right? Okay. Anybody else have anything here? Anyone from the public here to be heard? Motion to close the public hearing?
Move.
Second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Someone wanna move the
I
application?
move for positive resolution with the deed restriction, the sheds removal. Is there anything else?
I don't think
I
so.
think we got that, okay?
Second.
Sheds we don't.
Both,
Yes.
yeah, with both sheds, yes.
Mr. Worrell seconded it. Call the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Good luck. Mary, I'll give you, or somebody will give you information for publishing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, all.
Good luck with it.
Cute little dollhouse. Okay, next application, case number 4, Eric Rubin, block 8.01, lot 24, 6 Tulip
Mr.
Court.
Santiago.
6 Tulip Court, Oakhurst, in R1 cluster zone. This is an application to keep a retaining wall fence and shed with variances for side yard setback under minimum shed, rear yard setback under minimum shed, change in grade of 2 feet or more. Who's going to testify? Both of you, okay. I'll do it one at a time. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, state your name and address in connection with the application.
Eric Rubin, 6 Tulip Court.
Thank you. And raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Name and address in connection with the application.
Robert Susser, 17 Washington Avenue in Rumson, and his uncle, and I helped him build his house.
Okay,
Familiar with the
all right.
construction.
Have a seat. Marion, could you mark the packet B1 and give us your report, please?
Sure. My report is dated July 19th, 2017. The applicant wishes to keep a retaining wall fence and shed with variances for side and rear yard setbacks of 5.6 feet and 11 feet, where a minimum of 20 feet and 40 feet are required, and for a change in grade of 2 feet or more. I'll leave for discussion by the board engineer any concerns related to the change in grade of 2 feet or more. My only concern in regard to the shed is the reason for such a large structure so close to the side and rear property lines. The shed is 21 feet by 13 feet, or 274 square feet. The maximum size for a shed permitted to be in the present location is 10 feet by 15 feet, or 150 square feet. I note that the existing dwelling has an attached 2-car garage. The applicant must provide specific testimony in regard to the need for a structure of this size. Finally, should the board decide that the location is approvable, consideration should be given to prohibiting the conversion of the shed to anything other than storage. This would limit future use of the structure by this property owner or future property owners to storage only, and not permit conversion to another use that would be more active, for example, a cabana.
So you must have
Mr. Chairman,
some...
I do have a report dated July 19th, and essentially, notwithstanding the planning issues that Mary Ann's talking about, I have no real engineering problem with the concept of what was done here, because it turned out to be a really attractive rear yard. It's not changing the drainage patterns in the neighborhood or hurting anybody else. So for any number of reasons, I don't have any engineering concerns, other than two. One of them is the question for Mary Ann: did the shed ever receive a building permit?
The shed was on the previous property before it was subdivided, and as a condition of subdivision, it was supposed to have been demolished because it would have been an accessory use on a property that had no principal use. So when the tennis court was demolished, the shed was required to be demolished. There was a previous approval for, there was basically a house on one lot, and there was a tennis court with the shed on the second lot. There was a subdivision down the middle because they had been two separate lots beforehand. And as part of that previous approval, there was an approval for some fences and some walls and things like that. Nothing like what was built. So now we get to the end of the process. The shed hasn't been removed, and the walls and the fencing and the change in grade were very, very different. So, you know.
All right, now where I'm going is that if the shed is permitted to stay this location or any other due to its size, it's got to have, there are some foundation requirements in the building code, so it should get any permits it needs retroactively. That's where I was really going, to be sure that there's no issues.
But I had a story to tell. So.
I'm sorry?
But I had a story to tell.
And we all listened and loved it. However, okay, so in item 3 of my letter, all I'm doing is taking the normal process and going backwards. Normally, you come in for your variance if you need one. You do your construction documents, you apply, you get your permit, and you build it. We have slightly reverse order, but I'm okay with it if the applicant's okay with it, okay? He's got it in, so he built it. We need construction documents if he grants a variance, if he gets a variance. If not, he's going to take it out anyway.
You're talking the retaining wall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to know, this town has always, as far as I remember, back to our early days, required structural calculations for a retaining wall 3 feet in height or greater. And this is. So we'll need this construction calculations, we'll need the construction details, all the things that you would normally do to get your permit, just to complete the file. If the board grants the variance, he's got the variance and it's already built. So then it's kind of a simple thing.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Can we just clarify one thing?
Yeah.
We bought Eric bought the property as a purchaser, was not involved at all in any subdivision of the property.
That's correct.
Wasn't aware of any prior, we were told that there was a prior variance for change of grade and stuff like that, but we initially were going to take the shed down as part of our application, having no knowledge at all of the prior proposal to tear it down or anything like that. And then after we built the house, Eric's wife said, "Hey, instead of tearing the shed down, it's a prefabricated shed. It just sits on block. No, not a foundation, but block." And so we just spruced it up. We just made it look like the house. And I think do they have the pictures?
They do.
Okay. So we just decided, as an afterthought, hey, we've got the shed there. Let's make it look like the house. So we dressed it up. And I think we would clearly be in agreement to make it a deed restriction or whatever type of restrictions. Even if you look at the bottom of it, it was in pretty good disrepair, termites and stuff like that. And so what we did was we plastered under that wooden structure and put the stone of the house on the shed so that the shed would look, just like the house.
I think, Mr.
I
Susser.
don't think that's a big issue. I think the big issue is that you may need permits if it stays. That's fine. The bigger issue is that it's not in a conforming location. So if there's neighbors that have some say in it, they may not be as happy with it as the Rubens are.
I'll actually.
What's the purpose of? Why did you want to keep it at the end?
Actually, I just want to quickly address. I talked to my neighbor who had owned the house, who bought the house from the guy who had the tennis court. So he had like the house, and then he had the tennis court, and the guy who then he sold the house, and they subdivided the land, and they couldn't keep. I don't know if you know anything about this. Anyway, they couldn't keep the tennis court. They knocked that down, and they left the shed there. And I talked to the guy who owns the house now. I just talked to him before I came to the meeting yesterday, and he's totally cool with the shed being there. He has absolutely no issues with it. And
If there's nobody here to object, it's like a no-brainer.
yeah, okay, yeah, he
There
says
is somebody
okay.
here, then
okay, it's not my neighbor.
That's not the issue. What we're
Oh.
trying to explain is that a shed of that size, first of all, it was supposed to be torn down, but that's how it got where it is, because it was erected without permits and approval. Because of the size, under the Uniform Construction Code, it needs permits. So whether you did it before or after, you need to get the permits. So that's part of it. So then the question becomes, does it get to stay where it is? Does it have to be relocated elsewhere? And obviously, if it's on block, it's much easier. I get what you're saying, but that's what we're trying to that's what we're trying to explicate here, as to how. And one of the ways that may make it more palatable is if, yes, it does stay because it's been there for quite a long time, but it's restricted not to be allowed to have some higher activity uses that oftentimes are associated with structures that are almost 300 square feet.
Okay.
It's got a light bulb in it, and that's it.
Yeah, it doesn't work. There's nothing there. There's nothing in there, actually. There is nothing in there.
No electricity.
No electricity. There's nothing in there.
Okay.
It's so what?
There's electricity. I mean, there's a floodlight on the outside.
Is it? I don't know. That doesn't even doesn't work. If there is electricity, it's one of those solar ones. I'm not sure if it doesn't.
Okay.
When they go for permits and inspections, if there's electricity,
because it's not supposed to.
They'll know.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And basically what we use it for is I live here year round, and I actually do my own snow removal. I have my snow blower, and I do it myself, and I put that in there, and I put my lawn equipment in there, and I just use it like everyone else does. Storage for stuff, and like outdoor tables, things like that. Normal stuff, storage. You know, it was just, that's why we kept it. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. So that's kind of what happened.
No, but you understand that the point is, a shed that size is not permitted in that location.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's the premise of it.
No,
so,
of course, and
it's more or less been put there without permits and inspections. So that's probably a bigger issue than justifying what you want to use it for, but it doesn't belong there that size. Normally, we don't allow that.
I understand the issue.
So we would have to have it re-inspect,
You have to apply for permits retroactively and have it inspected.
yeah, which we would have no problem doing.
And do you concur that it doesn't make sense to move it?
I don't know. I haven't heard if there's any neighbors that have a concern about it or not, because we haven't sent out. I mean, if nobody's objecting to it, I don't have a big problem with it.
Okay,
I think that it's a good idea. It's fine. He's done a really nice job in terms of how it looks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The neighbor, this is from 8 Tulip Court. Yeah. Oh, he didn't have any objection.
Are you?
Yeah. So.
It's a simple question. We can ask.
Oh, he didn't show up. Well, he had no problem. He's cool with it.
So the neighbor's not here.
Because he's got to give them.
Okay, well, I just make that clear.
I
Okay.
need to have all those green cards. Those were the ones.
This is the ones that got returned.
Exactly, the ones you were returning to us. Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to
Other evening at the Township.
The retaining wall,
so Bill's looking for technical specifications on that,
yeah, which we could, yeah.
on the retaining wall.
Yeah, we've had it,
So can you provide that to him?
yes,
Okay.
That's all you need. Yes.
yes.
What do you want?
The
It's all in my letter.
It's Alan,
Item
it's
3.
Alan Barker.
Bill. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
All right, and I guess we
It's
want to,
exactly what he would have had to provide to get permits.
and we want a time frame for that, right?
Absolutely.
30 days.
30 days, Bill?
Fine, even 45.
You're not gonna get a resolution till 9/7.
When?
Well, but he's got to work it out with Bill before. I didn't say for
Yeah,
a
so
resolution,
first submission 30 days. If it's fine, that's great. If not, at least have time to turn it around.
Okay.
but Bill, you just want to leave it subject to your approval, or do you want to wait till you see it until we pass any kind of a resolution?
I think subject to my approval.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean,
That's fine. Sorry, Mark. I wasn't sure what Bill
like I
wanted.
said, it's all done and it's fine. I mean, other than
We're talking about
fill in the file, then we're not doing much.
We're talking about two different things. We're talking, first of all, that's for the retaining wall.
Right.
Okay, and then he has to go get the permits for
Shed.
the shed.
Yes.
And then you gotta tell us about the location, the board.
Well, it sounds to me like the locations. There's no objectors,
That's
no
what we're
objections to
waiting
the location, but it's subject to him getting the appropriate permits for it.
And the reason it's well screened.
Is that very well screened?
And aesthetically updated to be compatible with the house.
You can, in one of the pictures, you can see it from the front yard. It's got trees. See, the neighbor's yard to the left, one of the reasons why we did with this little wall here was that their fence was up really high because the property goes, the grade, the original grade went.
Mr. Susser, unless you're standing at a microphone, you don't pick up.
Okay. The original grade was 10 feet street to back and 7 feet side to side. So this neighbor's fence was up really high. So what we did was we brought the ground up a little bit and then planted trees. And so we have a border around the entire property. And that completely screens the shed from the neighbor on this side and the neighbor on this side.
No worries.
Okay.
So how long does he have to do all this to get the permits and everything? Do we have a time limit on this? So it doesn't
Well,
lag?
I would hope so.
Okay, so how, do we put a time restriction on this?
Yeah, how long, well, you got to apply for the permits,
Right.
and before that you got
He
to,
should have his application in within 30 days for the permit. I
That's
think
no
that's
problem.
fair.
all right, and also the same 30 days to have the information.
Well, yeah, because
to
that's
bill
part,
for
of the, as part of the application.
Oh, okay, I was thinking of the permits for the, how about the permits for the shed? What
I'm
has,
not sure what they need for that. He should maybe.
He needs construction permits. It's
No,
the
I'm
same.
sorry, Mayor. What documents would you normally submit for an after the fact?
that's what I was asking.
It's up to the construction official,
Okay, so
based
they
on
need-
how easily.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the stone is gonna cause an issue or a problem.
I understand.
So I don't know that.
Okay, so he has to be in touch with the construction official as soon as possible to, so. And you're telling me, Mark, we wouldn't have a resolution for 45 days anyway, but,
Right, because the next meeting is August 2, I'm not sure if I'll have time between now and then. for all
okay.
these resolutions.
No, I understand, that's fine.
September 7th.
What's gonna trigger this to give them an incentive to make sure this is,
You don't have to vote on it.
okay.
You can vote on it, it's
Yeah,
already
you can
there.
vote on it when
You
when
can bring it- you
the
can-
application is made for the permits.
Well, all right, but were there summonses issued? Are we under summons for this, Mary Ann?
I
Complaints
do
issued?
not believe there's been summonses issued. Were you given a violation notice?
No,
Were you given a fine?
No.
There was an issue of occupancy without a CO. That's why I'm
Yes,
asking
they gave us
you
a
that.
temporary CO and to get a
And
permanent
when
CO.
did that temporary CO expire?
They've extended it, hasn't expired.
This is CO for the house?
Yes.
Okay,
They've
so that's,
extended it to when? But that's important. That's why I'm asking. I
they-
believe that it had expired in between. So now you have another temporary CO.
Right.
And it expires when?
They didn't expire it, they required us to file this application.
No, but the temporary CO has an expiration date. So
Oh.
when is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I want to make sure this
I
gets
think-
done
I
as
think
quick
they should have
as,
all the permits within 60 days. This is a really simple thing. I mean,
that's fine, or what? Or what if they don't?
or you don't vote yes. And you
Okay,
still
but-
off on the vote.
Yeah, but that's fine, but meanwhile, the reality of it is they're in the house with a COB, albeit temporary, so nothing's gonna happen if if this thing drags for 6 months.
Well, if we vote no,
Well,
if we
the
vote no
temporary
on
CO does
September
not have to
7th,
be-
it's sure gonna happen, right?
Temporary CO does
no
not have to
variance.
be extended, and if these permits haven't been obtained.
I understand that.
I mean, there aren't a lot of teeth out there other than that
Okay.
kind of thing.
Actually, I can actually tell you something that will make you feel better. On my house, I'm looking to put in pillars in the front, but I can't do that unless I have a CO. The town won't let me.
But my point is, you're living there now. Nobody's going to throw you out.
What? No one's gonna. My wife is.
Well, that's your
problem.
That's your problem.
So, one of them you'll actually see. I have pillars waiting on the side of my house to put them up. My wife is like on my case every day to get this CO, so I can then get these. Yeah. So I have these pillars that were built, and they're sitting on the side of our lawn. And she's like, "I want the CO. I want the CO." So I promise you that we are in a very immediate, let's get this done situation.
Okay,
So
I mean, I guess that's all we can do at this point. All right, so we're going to carry this till September, right?
And
Why
are you
September?
going to do a restriction as to the conversion of this later, or just let it be?
Say that again,
A
please.
deed restriction preventing it from being converted to, sorry.
Oh, that, yeah, for the shed.
Yeah.
Of course.
So we have to have a deed prepared? What do we do?
You're gonna have a deed restriction prepared, sent to us so we can review it to make sure it's appropriate, and then it would be filed in the county.
Okay. There's one other thing, is the fence, the solid fence? No?
What about it?
Okay. All right, no.
You're okay.
We're okay?
That's in the back?
There was an initial concern about a fence height combination, fence wall height, but it's not.
No, it was also that the previous approval
Right.
didn't allow him to have the solid fence. It had basically a Jareth style and estate fence.
But we did get, we did file an application, did get a permit for the fence.
Again, that's why I didn't mention it, and now you added it to the record.
No, that's okay, I just, I just didn't want anything, when we go back for our CO, make sure everything's
Does the
covered.
board want me to bring a positive resolution for the 7th?
Yes.
Yes.
We're not voting on it until you are assured that all these permits have been properly applied for.
Correct.
So that does not have to be a condition of the resolution.
Right.
We have
It
to,
would have been done, if not, we're not voting.
Then we're not going to, right, we're not going to approve it, and you're kind of like,
But
the temporary CO, it's,
should be a condition of the.
until everything is completed, they could revoke the temporary, so you do have an incentive to get this done.
we have to apply for a building permit for the shed. And then.
And for the retaining wall.
The retaining wall.
Okay,
Comes under the building code, parts of it do.
okay, all right.
All right, so we're going to carry this app.
Can I get a CD of this meeting?
Can you
Can
what?
I get a CD of this meeting tonight?
Yeah.
Sure.
It costs $5.
The, all right, the application of Eric Rubin is hereby carried to a meeting of September 7th, 2017. This will serve as public notice. No further notice is required. Anybody have anything else? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
I know not to put adult daycare in my